We kick off our final episode of this marathon with the start of Season 3, Season of Death. Picking up where we left off, the Moya crew is naturally worried that they've lost contact with the planet. Pilot's getting it from all directions. He doesn't know anything, people won't stop pestering him, and he's trying to figure out why he ate 3 bags of Fritos and a box of Hostess cupcakes. Last time, the slob hid in one of the cryotubes in a vain attempt to avoid detection. It failed. Now it's clear that he sold them out to Scorpiouos, and Scorpiouos is unpredictable. I rest my lunch. To make Crichton's day worse, technically it makes it worse, it's more like the cherry on top. Despite the chip being out, Harvey is still inside of his head. And cue new title music. Crichton has a new monologue for this. There's a brand new theme. And the titles include credits for Crace, Stark, and Scorpiouos. It's big, loud, and big.
I think you need a strong opening title sequence.
Are you serious? No one does that anymore.
Well, Scorpiouos has got a problem of his own. It's not just that his food disagreed with him either, on many things. It was that they came here on a Marauder, that little ship that we saw land in Exodus from Genesis. The command carrier is delayed, and they're stuck on this planet with the mentally unbalanced Crace and the somehow more mentally unbalanced Talon, who together might start raising this mountain from orbit if there was even a hint that they were down here. They're going to have to lay low and wait for the ship to get here. Meanwhile, Harvey is very annoyed that he's still stuck in Crichton's head. He's not supposed to be. So he thinks the only sensible thing is to convince Crichton to kill himself. Admittedly, this is a good day to propose that agenda. In reality, Rigel's looking for his ride and comes across Crichton and the surgeon, who's only mostly dead. So while the guy looking to haul ass off this rock is trying to figure out what to make of that, Dargo tells Chiana and Jaffe that he's going down to the planet, and they're to stay up here, and don't argue, and do everything I tell you, and most especially, don't resent me for bossing you around. Scorpiouos learns about them coming down, and rather than doing something to alert them to his presence, again, orbiting unstable gunship, he decides to stick something in this slob's brain and then operate him like a puppet. Not literally. He'd need to put on at least 2 more gloves before he'd want to try that. Meanwhile, we find out that Rigel opted to give the surgeon mouth-to-mouth until Zan and the others arrived. That was Zan's idea.
It's not working. He's breathing.
That's what you get for abusing people. They have no loyalty. Are you ever going to learn? Nope. This isn't for no reason, though. His story is that he was also nearly killed, but survived. It also gets messy because Stark starts a moral debate. Luckily, though, this guy wasn't big on them before Scorpiouos moved in, so not a whole lot of change. Fortunately for him, Dargo is more concerned about Crichton and gets Stark to calm down, and without needing to hit him with the tongue this time. The issue is that to fix Crichton, we need neurotissue from a donor, but it would be fatal to them, not a simple borrowing of cerebral fluid like for the operation. What's more, there's no way to know if it'll even work with his mind in this state, so Dargo says that Zan should use that Delvian mind meld again to find out. She does and learns Harvey's in there, and Crichton's sounding rather defeated. After all he's been through, this on his conscience too? He needs that like he needs a hole in the head. Another one. Through his puppet, Scorpiouos suggests that Zan do the kind thing and gives her a syringe. Stark and Dargo stop her in time, and Dargo tosses those 2 out while they figure out what to do. We need people in here who are going to save lives, not end them. Oh, God damn it. Well, it wasn't Crichton, the doc, or Dargo himself, so Dargo just rolls with it. Meanwhile, Scorpiouos learns about Erin's death and the plan to give her a burial in space, and is hoping they can use that as a way to get Talon out of here. And speaking of unstable and violent, Chiana and Jaffe. They start with some light banter, and playfulness leads to aggression, and shouting, and flirting, and pinning, and it's like when you're a kid and put 2 9-volt batteries into each other. Yep, sparks that probably shouldn't be there are flying. The doc finishes and leaves to poo, but at least Crichton can talk now. He wants to die. But Dargo says that to surrender to death would be the last thing Aaron would want him to do now. And Stark says, hey, without that chip, Harvey is little more than a wraith with no power. Crichton realizes what that means and heads back inside to go confront this Harvey Scorpiouos thing and repeatedly punches him in the face. Finally, he finishes up by tossing him in a dumpster, and hey, that has to feel good. This is the person responsible for Aaron's death. An ass whooping is the least he deserves. Well, things go from bad to worse for the poor doctor, who picks up one of the pods activating and won't listen to the chief layabout to just leave that alone. A mistake, because in that pod was a Scaran. I say was because it's out now, and cooks the doctor for being within cooking distance. Scorpiouos wants to know why. Well, the slob refuses to talk at first, so Scorpiouos puts the little puppet thing back on and makes him bite the tip off of one of his own fingers. Damn. Used to know a pretty good surgeon who could have fixed that. Well, the Scarans came here, he says, because they heard that Scorpiouos got his cooling system installed here and wanted to set a trap for when he came back. Knowing that Scorpiouos might not stick to this deal, he set the defrost on a 3-arn timer as insurance. And seems the adjuster is coming around to make sure everyone gets what's coming to them. On Moya, Rigel stumbles in after Chiana and Joffy's indiscretion, but thankfully is more interested in food than paying attention to whether or not they're shagging. That's good, we can leave their antics behind and get back to dealing with Crichton. Turns out Stark was just hoping maybe a little positive thinking might do the trick, which, hell, it did, so that's one for the crazy guy. Unfortunately, their luck is not going to hold out. You know, I use the word unfortunately a lot when it comes to our heroes, don't I? But unfortunately, the insurance plan did not include that Scorpiouos could turn that guy into a puppet, and so sends him out to talk to the Scaran. He puts the Scaran on the trail of Crichton, but the Scaran then tosses the slob into a cryo unit, just in case, he says. Hopefully that just in case isn't just in case I get hungry later. Well, Zan and Stark go to where Aaron's body is, and it turns out she's only mostly dead. Hey, don't want me to go Miracle Max, don't keep resorting to the dead but not actually plot. Zan wants to try saving Aaron using some ritual, but Stark says it's too dangerous. So, Zan punches him in the face to knock him out, so he won't interfere. And let's be clear, he'd interfere. Stark is a very now kind of a guy. Well, points for Dargo. He opens the door right into the face of the Scaran he had no idea was here, and his only reaction is to punch it and close the doors again. Good instincts. But they have to escape out into the cold with no weapons, or else the Scaran's going to immolate them. While they make their chilly escape, Zan uses Stark's ability to go to Aaron.
Zan? What is this?
Yeah, this is the most literal girl-on-girl material I've ever seen. Aaron is at first unclear on things, but thanks to this unity, now realizes what Zan is prepared to give up to save her, and is not going to let her, tossing her back out again. For Zan, who had hope, it's a terrible blow. That wasn't one of her favorites either. However, guess it's a good thing that Dargo left her that. Well, there are some downsides. The Scaran can't generate heat in such a cold, but it can beat on Dargo just fine. Aaron arrives and shoots the Scaran until the gun runs dry, but it seems to have softened it up enough that Crichton can shove an icicle into it, which does the trick. This is a great moment, except that Crichton is a man who has learned he can't trust what his own eyes tell him. So it's not an easy journey to get him to accept that his dead girlfriend is back and hunting monsters in the snow. During this, the pilot of the Marauder has been champing at the bit to try to outrun Talon to get to the command carrier. Well, now he's getting his chance. He lasted longer than I thought he would. Scorpiouos wasn't too optimistic either. That's why he sent the guy off alone, to make everyone think that he died on that ship with the overconfident dipshit. Stark reports to them that the doctor is dead, and the slob, even though he's not. Stark is content to leave him in the Same state as all the others are. But Crichton is not willing to leave behind the other two that are closely related to humans. Seeing as Stark killed the third of their group, he feels like he owes it to those two to help them. And as for Scorpiouos, he's got a new research base set up to begin going through the information on the chip. In the coda, Dargo has no clue what happened between his girlfriend and his son, while Aaron is struggling with what happened and Crichton struggling with the fear that he's going to lose her again. They start to passionately kiss, only for Aaron to stop, because she does not want to be the cause of anyone else's death. Yes, bringing her back took all that Zan had. She's resting with Stark because she's mostly dead. Slowly slipping the rest of the way now. Merry Christmas. Season of Death is a must-see as it brings back Aaron, only to start the gradual exit of Zan. I give it a stamp of strongly recommended. There's several things I like about it. One is flipping the script on Scorpiouos. For once, the hunter must hide. It's not just the fact that it changes the dynamic, but it forces him to demonstrate his abilities in a different way than we usually see. I mean, he's always been cunning, but here he has to do so with limited resources and manpower. Another is the intriguing setup the episode creates. The destruction of the Marauder means that Crichton thinks Scorpiouos is dead, meaning he has no reason to pursue him. And the fact that he has the chip means that Scorpiouos has no reason to pursue Crichton. The Nemesis have no reason to cross paths again based upon this setup. Yet the fact he's now in the title suggests he's going to be popping up anyway. Maybe as Scorpiouos, maybe as Harvey. The Chiana Jaffe thing was the only part I didn't care for in either of those two episodes. Not any moral objection, I just don't care. But otherwise, it hit a lot of great marks. The setup here for Virginia Hayes' departure was not because anyone wanted to see that happen. It was simply necessity. You might have noticed in the earlier episodes we looked at, she exposed a lot more skin than she did in the later ones. The reason is that exposure to so much makeup was causing damage to her kidneys, so that had to stop. Apparently, there was a mistake, and her agent never passed along that what she wanted was to see if they could scale it back to just 6 to 8 episodes a season. So they worked out how best to write her out of the show. This brings us to the end. I hope you've enjoyed our marathon, which has been 10 years in the making, and hopefully it won't be anywhere near as long for us to continue.